The morning mist hung low over the savannah, brushing the tips of golden grasses in pale light. Most would have thought it a quiet, ordinary day, yet there was a sound, soft, desperate, almost imperceptible. A low, trembling roar threaded through the still air, carrying a weight of loneliness that felt out of place in the wide, open plains. The old man paused, his weathered eyes narrowing. It was faint, fleeting, but unmistakable. He followed the sound with careful steps, boots sinking into damp earth, until a clearing came into view. There, partially hidden in tall, swaying grass, lay a young lion. Its fur was dulled by dust, the mane patchy, and the ribs outlined faintly beneath a coat that had lost its luster. Its chest rose and fell unevenly, punctuated by soft, plaintive groans that resonated like a fragile heartbeat in the quiet morning. The old man lowered himself slowly, not wanting to startle. He spread his hands in a gesture of patience and calm, keeping his movements deliberate and unhurried. "It's all right. I'm here," he whispered, his voice blending with the whispering wind. The lion's ears flicked toward him, alert but not fearful. Its amber eyes, weary and wary, studied him with a quiet caution. Around them, the savannah stretched endlessly, rolling plains dotted with acacia trees, distant hills softened by mist, and a sky brushed with the gentle hues of early sunlight. Each sound was magnified against the stillness, the rustle of grass, the distant call of a lone bird, and the soft, ragged breaths of the young lion. Every movement of the animal spoke of exhaustion and solitude. A paw lifted slowly, a head tilted with a fragile curiosity, a subtle shift in posture that betrayed unease and pain. The old man did not move closer. He stayed where he was, letting the lion observe him from a safe distance, offering reassurance without force. From his coat pocket, he retrieved a small tin of water and placed it gently a few feet away. The lion hesitated, sniffed, then lapped slowly, a careful, deliberate gesture of trust forming between them. Hours passed in quiet vigilance. The old man's eyes traced every line of the lion's form, the tension in its shoulders, the shallow swell of its ribs, the slight tremor in its paws. He felt the weight of responsibility settle over him, not as a burden, but as a quiet call to action. No one else had heard this cry. No one else had stopped. And yet, here he was, fully present, fully aware, holding the space for a life that had been nearly forgotten. The wind stirred again, carrying the scent of earth and distant wood fires. Shadows lengthened as the morning gave way to noon, and still the lion remained, moving cautiously but with subtle recognition of the man's presence. Its low rumble, half sigh and half growl, resonated through the grass, a sound neither fully of fear nor of aggression, but of hesitant acknowledgement. The old man exhaled quietly. The moment was fragile, fleeting, yet full of promise. Somewhere, deep in the wild, a connection had begun, a trust slowly forming, silent but profound. The lion, alone no longer, allowed himself the smallest gesture of relief, a tilt of the head, a soft blink, a measured step forward. In the expanse of golden grass and morning mist, the cry that had gone unheard now had found someone who would listen, someone who would not turn away. And for the first time that day, the savannah felt less empty, filled instead with the quiet pulse of two lives intersecting in the most unexpected way. The sun had climbed higher, burning away the morning mist, revealing the savannah in its stark, golden clarity. The young lion lay partially hidden under a solitary acacia tree, its body tense and cautious. The old man approached slowly, aware of the fragile line between presence and intrusion. Each step was measured, each breath steady, carrying calm rather than urgency. Closer inspection revealed the lion's injuries. A shallow scratch ran across one foreleg, its edges inflamed and crusted with dust. A subtle swelling near the shoulder suggested a deeper strain, perhaps from an old fight or a fall. The fur along the spine was matted in patches, and faint rib outlines testified to days without sufficient food. Its breathing was uneven, punctuated by low, rasping wheezes that carried in the dry air like a whispered plea. The lion shifted its weight, each movement deliberate, wary of both the man and the unknown elements of the world around it. Its tail flicked with slight agitation, ears rotating at every distant noise. The old man knelt a few feet away, careful not to loom over it. He murmured softly, "You've been alone too long." His voice was gentle, carrying no threat, only quiet acknowledgement. From a small satchel, he drew water and placed it at the lion's side. The animal sniffed, hesitant at first, then lapped carefully, its tongue brushing the metal cup. The old man observed every motion, the slight hesitation before drinking, the shallow breathing, the subtle shift of its gaze. He understood that this trust was earned moment by moment, not demanded with gestures or force. Around them, the savannah pulsed with life unnoticed. The rustle of grasses, the distant call of a hornbill, the faint hum of insects over sun-baked soil, all became a quiet symphony framing the young lion's vulnerability. The old man allowed the silence to stretch, letting the creature absorb his steady presence. It was in this stillness, he knew, that healing could begin. He watched the lion try to rise, muscles trembling, before settling again with a low groan. The old man noted the fatigue in each movement, the careful pacing of each step, the way the lion's body carried the weight of days spent alone, searching for food and water in an unforgiving landscape. His hands itched to reach out, to help, but he restrained himself, allowing the animal to move at its own pace, to trust without coercion. Hours passed. The lion eventually curled into a loose ball beneath the shade, still alert but slightly more relaxed. A faint, low rumble emanated from its chest, a sound not of fear, not of aggression, but of cautious recognition. The old man remained still, eyes tracing each contour, noting every subtle sign of progress. A flick of the ear, a blink of amber eyes, the tentative stretching of paws. As the afternoon sunlight slanted across the grass, painting the scene in golden shadow, the bond deepened. It was invisible, delicate, and profound. No dramatic gestures marked the moment, only the quiet acknowledgement that both lives were now intertwined, even if only by shared presence and understanding. Finally, as the old man rose, he whispered, "We'll get through this, together." The lion's eyes followed him, amber pools of uncertainty slowly brightening with the faint glow of hope. The cries that had gone unnoticed the day before now had found someone willing to hear them, and someone ready to act, patiently, tenderly, and without demand. In the vast expanse of the savannah, the rhythm of survival continued, but now a fragile thread of trust had begun to weave between man and lion, as quiet and profound as the wind over golden grass. The following morning brought a soft, muted light over the savannah. Dew clung to the grass, glittering faintly like scattered beads, and the air carried the earthy scent of damp soil. The young lion lay beneath the same acacia tree, alert now, muscles tense yet relaxed enough to allow subtle movements. Its amber eyes flicked toward the approaching old man, a hint of recognition reflected in their depth. In his satchel, the man carried scraps of meat wrapped in cloth and a small bundle of herbs. Every movement he made was deliberate, careful not to startle the animal. "It's all right," he whispered, his voice low and steady. The lion's ears twitched, then relaxed slightly, a subtle acknowledgement of the words, if not their meaning. The lion approached cautiously, sniffing the offerings laid on the warm earth. Its steps were measured, deliberate, as though testing both the ground beneath and the intent of the man before it. Slowly, it lowered its head to take the meat, then paused mid-bite, flicking its gaze toward the old man. He remained still, hands resting on his knees, eyes following every subtle movement, the slight shiver of fur, the tense curl of the tail, the faint rattle in the shallow breathing. Once the lion had finished a small portion, the old man took a clean cloth and gently dabbed at the scratches on its foreleg. Each movement was light, unobtrusive, almost a shadow passing over its fur. The lion flinched slightly at first, but did not flee, the tension in its body easing with every careful touch. A low rumble vibrated from its chest, steady now, neither fear nor warning, but quiet acknowledgement. Time stretched with slow, almost imperceptible rhythm. The old man's hands moved with gentle precision, cleaning dirt and debris, applying herbal salves with care. The lion shifted its weight, lifted a paw, then settled again, each action deliberate, a silent agreement of patience and trust forming between them. Around them, the savannah held its breath. Distant trees swayed in a soft breeze, a hornbill's call cut through the warm air, and the scent of sun-baked earth mingled with the faint aroma of wet herbs. Every detail became a part of the shared space, the environment a witness to the delicate bond forming between human and animal. The old man offered more food, setting it just beyond reach to encourage movement without pressure. The lion ate, paused, and lifted its head, amber eyes reflecting the early sunlight. There was no sudden leap of affection, no dramatic gesture, only subtle acknowledgement, trust measured in tiny steps, a negotiation of comfort and safety. By afternoon, the lion stretched fully, muscles rippling beneath its recovering fur, tail swaying in slow arcs. Its breathing was steadier, the swelling on its shoulder less pronounced, and its eyes held a quiet attentiveness, as though it had learned to read the rhythm of the old man's presence. Finally, the old man stood slowly, hands brushing dust from his coat. He gave a soft, approving nod. "You're stronger now," he murmured. The lion did not approach or retreat, only tilted its head, observing him with the cautious curiosity of one testing trust. In that quiet exchange, a turning point had been reached. The cries that had first brought the old man to this clearing had been answered, not with force or urgency, but with patience, attention, and unwavering care. In the golden light of the savannah, a fragile alliance had formed, delicate and enduring, promising hope and survival for the days yet to come. The old man remained, silently watching as the lion settled beneath the acacia tree, its body taut yet relaxed, a presence both cautious and confident. And in that stillness, the rhythm of shared understanding, gentle, measured, unspoken, spoke louder than any roar could. Clouds had gathered unexpectedly, thick and heavy, turning the morning light a muted gray. Rain fell steadily, pattering across the savannah and saturating the soil beneath the lion's paws. Streams of water, once narrow and gentle, had swelled into hurried, silver ribbons cutting through the grasslands. The young lion hesitated near one such ribbon, muscles coiled in tension as it assessed the rushing current. The old man appeared along the edge of the clearing, his coat damp from the rain, eyes fixed on the animal. He could see the subtle signs of fear, the flick of the tail, the rigid stance, the low, cautious rumble that vibrated from the lion's chest. He stepped forward slowly, voice barely above a whisper. "This way, steady," he said, each word measured, carrying reassurance rather than command. The lion shifted, ears rotating toward the sound. Its eyes followed him, tracing the path of shallow earth leading around the deeper water. It stepped tentatively, testing the wet grass and mud with precise care. Each pawfall was deliberate, the pads pressing into soft soil, claws occasionally scraping to maintain balance. The rain intensified, filling the air with the scent of wet earth and distant foliage. The river roared in contrast, white foam churning over rocks and fallen branches. Yet, the lion moved, guided not by urgency but by the steady presence of the old man. He mirrored its pace, never rushing, always keeping a careful distance, letting the animal choose the timing of each movement. At one point, the lion froze mid-step, eyes wide, staring at a section of rushing water that seemed impassable. The old man knelt, extending a hand slightly, not toward the animal but in alignment with the safest path. "Here, easy," he whispered, the sound blending with the rain. Slowly, as if reading the intention behind the voice, the lion began to follow, paws slipping but finding grip, chest low, tail flicking to maintain balance. Minutes stretched, each one measured in careful steps and cautious glances. The lion's breathing was audible, rhythmic, a contrast to the chaotic roar of the swollen river. Around them, the landscape blurred in rain, a gray wash of grass, soil, and water, yet the connection between man and lion remained vivid, a tether of patience and trust guiding the fragile journey. Finally, the riverbank rose, and the lion scrambled onto firmer ground, shaking water from its coat in long, deliberate motions. It turned its head toward the old man, eyes alert but calm, a subtle acknowledgement without sound. The low rumble in its chest vibrated once, steady and even, a wordless thank you carried on the wind. The old man allowed himself a faint smile, brushing rain from his coat. "We're all right," he murmured, the words soft, almost to himself, but heavy with relief. The lion, now fully aware of its regained footing, walked a few steps along the bank, scanning the expanse, then settled beneath a nearby acacia tree, ears flicking at distant bird calls. The rain began to ease, turning into a gentle drizzle, the river's roar softening to a hum. The savannah was washed clean, colors muted yet vibrant, grass glistening, air fragrant with earth and growth. The old man remained at the edge of the clearing, silent, observing the lion's cautious confidence. In this quiet aftermath, the journey across danger had been completed not with force or fear, but with patience and respect. The lion had navigated its first trial with guidance rather than coercion, trust instead of dominance. And as the rain lightened to a soft mist, a new layer of understanding had settled between them, delicate, resilient, and enduring. Days passed, and the savannah shifted subtly with the rhythm of life. Grasses swayed in the warm breeze, birds called from distant trees, and the sun cast long, golden streaks across the land. The young lion, once weak and trembling, now moved with careful confidence, muscles flowing beneath a coat restored to lustrous health. Its amber eyes gleamed with alert awareness, reflecting both caution and curiosity. The old man watched from a short distance, his presence deliberate and unobtrusive. He had carried water, food, and quiet patience through each day, but now he understood that the lion's path was its own. Trust had been earned, but autonomy must follow. He did not call, did not gesture, only observed with gentle reverence as the animal stretched, flexed its paws, and tested the ground beneath. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of distant earth and the faint tang of rain from a passing shower. The lion paused at the crest of a low hill, surveying the vast expanse of the savannah below. Its tail flicked once, ears rotating to capture distant sounds, muscles coiled yet relaxed. There was no hesitation now, only the quiet assertion of freedom regained. The old man exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the journey they had shared. "Go," he murmured softly, almost to himself, the single word neither command nor plea but a gentle blessing. The lion lowered its head briefly, as if acknowledging the presence of the one who had tended to its pain, then turned and began its deliberate descent into the golden grass below. Its strides were steady, confident, each pawful pressing into earth still damp from the recent rain. The mane glimmered in the sunlight, fur rippling in motion, muscles fluid and alive. Occasionally, it paused to glance back, amber eyes catching the faint silhouette of the old man against the horizon, then continued without faltering. Around them, the savannah held a quiet hush, as though nature itself had drawn in its breath to witness the moment. Birds circled lazily, insects hummed over wet grasses, and the distant hills softened in a gentle haze. There were no roars, no dramatic gestures, only the understated elegance of life resuming its rhythm, of a creature returning to the wild with dignity and strength intact. The old man settled onto a sun-warmed stone, the faint weight of exhaustion in his bones balanced by a quiet, profound contentment. His eyes traced the lion's form until it melted into the shimmering distance, blending seamlessly with the golden grasses and undulating hills. He felt the echo of its first cries, once so lonely and unheard, now fading into the vast expanse, answered by presence, patience, and care. He remained there long after the lion had vanished from sight, absorbing the gentle chorus of the savannah, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of wind, the distant call of birds returning to their nests. In that quiet, he carried the memory of the fragile trust formed, the subtle gestures of acknowledgement, and the slow arc of recovery that had taken place in the span of days. As the sun dipped low, painting the horizon in soft hues of amber and rose, the old man rose, brushing dust from his coat. He turned slowly, taking one last glance across the savannah, feeling the invisible thread that connected him to the young lion still pulsing faintly in the distance. The world felt expansive and alive, a place of quiet miracles witnessed, and lessons in patience, compassion, and trust imprinted forever in his heart. And in the golden light of evening, the savannah exhaled, carrying away the memory of a cry once unheard, now answered, leaving only the serene rhythm of life continuing in its endless, quiet flow.